LOL Mets, LOL Nets, LOL Jets, Phillies in 5. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Grid Encore. I'm your host, Phillies fan Ben Schneider, joined as always by my co-host, Braves fan, but maybe fellow Mets hater, Brenden Crossman. Brenden, how are you doing? Oh, well, there's the answer right there.
Doing fine. Yeah, that unsightly thing on your cranium right now, I'll have to deal with for the next hour. No, feel free to wear it. It's fine. It's fine.
I don't usually wear hats on the air, but I had to for the intro though. So
it is another Motor Monday. There is stuff in the cup, so I will not be doing acrobatics with it. But took a trip to Kansas this weekend. NASCAR did, not me, but that's what we'll be focusing around. And glad to have you back here on another edition of Grid Encore.
Yes, apologies to all the Mets fans out there. I know it was not a great final day of the regular season for you all, but it certainly was for us here in Philadelphia. We didn't have anything to worry about. We're locked into the number 2 seed, and we'll see how we blow it in the postseason this year. So
on that note, though, congratulations to Cincinnati.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know.
Welcome to the postseason.
Give him a chat here tonight, but congratulations to the Reds on despite being in control of their own destiny, certainly made it a little bit interesting, gave the Mets a final shot there, but they squeak in as the 6th seed nonetheless. So we'll see how all the baseball plays out over next month, but it's not a baseball show. It's a racing show, and we certainly have a lot of racing to talk about here. So we'll get into all of that in just a moment. But first, as always, I want to give a shout-out to our Patreon supporters, Colin Deschelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew. Thank you so much for your continued support of what we do here at the Grid Network. And if you like what you see on this evening's episode of the Encore Show, you want to consider joining them and becoming a Patreon member through the rest of 2025 and into 2026 and beyond. Help us continue to build this motorsports media outlet. You can follow the link in the description box below, or if you'd rather make a one-time tip to us instead, if you're watching on YouTube, we have the Super Chat feature enabled, as well as Buy Me a Coffee, also in the description box below as well. Now, Brenden, I know I jokingly said before the start of the show, only Xfinity and Big ARCA, Kansas. There was an ARCA West race as well at Madera. We'll go through all those as we usually do, but a little bit of a lighter week for us in the series we normally cover, so we might as well talk about the Cup race. And I don't know how much time this is going to take, because there really wasn't too much to talk about, I don't think.
No.
What was your biggest takeaway from what we saw in yesterday's Cup Series action?
Well, as far as theatrics, the biggest thing you had there before the finish was Zane Smith's free bird through 3 and 4. And finding a new technique that we'll have to put a rule on later on if Ross Chastain picks it up. But that was pretty spectacular there, just flipping up on the side and riding the wall, just like another video game move. But then some hard coming back down to the ground and rolling a couple of times there. Glad to see that he was okay, but don't like to see that. Don't like to see these Gen 7 cars get off the ground at any point. At any rate of speed, but at least afterwards anyway, we can say it looked humorous instead of scary, which is
we know Zane's okay. Yes,
right, which is good for a change, for things like that. And then you said it. At least in the script anyway, Toyota blew it. What is going on there? I get it. It's every man for himself. Doesn't matter if you're the employer, the employee. But Toyota had multiple chances there. You look at Chase Briscoe behind, of course, Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace. So many different options there for Toyota for Toyota Gazoo Racing to pick up a victory at Kansas. And lo and behold, the 4-tire call for Alan Gustafson, who gets a lot of flack sometimes. Where's the win for Chase Elliott? Well, it's been a little better here in 2025, hasn't it? Now solidified in the round of 8 and came out there with 4 tires for the final restart, and was here in overtime at Kansas and home of the .001 finish. Get a power move on the inside around 3 and 4, and as Denny and Bubba exchange doors. Chase is just riding off into the sunset. So as far as big picture for TV, I thought that was a fantastic finish. You can say what you want about the race all the way through, but as far as finishes go, having your most popular driver get the win, and a team owner and a team, a teammate in the business fighting against each other. The Cash App wall ride. Thank you, Joe. Hey, good to hear from you. And also, Adam, thank you. Crazy Cup race at Kansas. Chase Elliott getting the win. Zane Smith going upside down. Yeah, glad he walked away. As well. We're very glad that he walked away and able to laugh about it a little bit. But plenty to watch there at the end, and just the whole dynamic being discussed today of how should team owners and drivers race each other. And you look back at instances of this before. I talked about it with my wife when we watched it live. She thought that was kind of weird, like kind of sort of a conflict of interest. Like, are you sure that's okay for him to own that team and also be racing against him? Like, well, you can go back to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, and you had that same instance for a very, obviously a brief period of time. The sketchy part is when we got to Michael Waltrip Racing, and of course the whole controversy that came at Richmond, and that ended up being the what dissolved that team completely. But other than that, we've gotten away from that, thankfully. But it has been done before. It still can be done today. And really, when it comes down to the final lap, you can talk about it in the boardroom on Monday morning or Monday afternoon, which is what they did today. And I'm sure words were exchanged. But I just like to see them compete for the win, no matter what. There at the end, doesn't matter who's signing the front end of the check for who. And also, I like to see the composure from Bubba Wallace. He said it himself. He was kind of a self-reflection there in the interview. A few years ago, I probably wouldn't have reacted like this, but things have been a little better for him here in 2025. And also, he's been through a world of change in the last few years, emotionally, mentally, and his experience as a driver, now a father, a husband. Things have changed for Bubba, so it was kind of nice to see some of that composure take hold, even when you're pretty upset with the guy who signs your checks, more or less. And Denny's sort of Denny about it, pretty indifferent. It's just fun to watch. It's a great race there at Kansas.
I am not going to complain, because it was, and I said it on Twitter last night, it was an objectively great finish. And to the point that you were making, Brandon, I said after Martinsville last year, there are 3 teams in NASCAR Cup racing today. Their names are Chevy, Ford, and Toyota. I mean, just the amount of team orders that we saw in last year's playoffs, I am thankful that we didn't see any team orders play out in this race here. And there was a thought that popped in my mind of the last lap, like, well, maybe that 11 car is the best thing that Bubba can see in his rearview mirror, because his team owner's in second now. He's going to be playing defense. He's going to be able to have an uncontested ride to victory lane here on this last lap. But then I remembered his team owner's name is Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin arguably should have been in position to win this race. He was the dominant car of the day, had his power steering brake, had his pit crew lose him some spots on pit road. So just to be in the position where he went for the lead on the last lap was an incredible story there. And it's a shame for them that we're not talking about this, because I truly believe that this was the single worst choke job I have ever seen in watching NASCAR racing in my lifetime. And I've seen some pretty bad choke jobs. I saw Juan Pablo Montoya choke the Brickyard 400 away with a speeding penalty on pit road. I saw Marcus Ambrose shut his engine off on an uphill at Sonoma in 2010 to try to save fuel, a move that still makes absolutely no sense to me 15 years later. But it happened, and I think this was potentially even worse than that, because this was a race where Toyota lined up with Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, and Tyler Reddick, 3 Gibbs cars, 2 2311 cars, all with a shot to win this race. I don't know where Chase Elliott was. I think he was at least 5th, maybe 6th, crossing the line on the white flag lap.
Yeah. TV didn't have him.
There is no possible outcome that should not involve Toyota leaving the track empty-handed, or that where Toyota should leave the track empty-handed there. There's no possible way you can watch how they came across the line of the last lap and say, well, boy, I certainly hope Toyota can pull this off here. They had every major player up there. One of them has to come away with this win. And the fact that we saw Chase Elliott, of all people, come through and steal this victory. I don't know what the meetings were like at Toyota or Gibbs or 2311 today, but I imagine being a fly on the wall with them would have been pretty entertaining. I mean, this was unbelievably, monumentally stupid for Toyota. And again, I'm not going to blame any one person. I know people were talking Bubba was driving way too aggressively on these overtime restarts. He almost put Christopher Bell into the wall. Again, not a 100% teammate, but kind of a factory manufacturer teammate. Bell had to lift, and that opened the door for Hamlin to come back. And then Hamlin actually does put the car, but he owns in the wall, essentially all but a teammate in Bubba Wallace. I mean, no love lost there, certainly. Man, I haven't gotten to listen to Actions Detrimental yet today. I understand that Denny's not really in an apologetic mood. He's not apologizing to anybody, and quite honestly, like I said, he shouldn't be apologizing because he's going.
It's racing.
And, yeah, it's racing, and you heard. I mean, listen, Bubba gave him the finger on the cool down lap, and then by the time he got to the post race interview, he said, "Yeah, it was a stupid move, but we're racing for the win."
That's why it's called the cool down lap, right?
Yes.
You get all that crap out of the way, and then you get out and be a gentleman.
Yes.
Yeah,
and again, emotions are high as it's going on, but I still it's been 24 hours now, and I cannot believe that we walked away from that race with the trophy in a non-Toyota driver's hands. And I don't get like it'd be one like if Denny had gone for it and it had been Christopher Bell stealing the win, or Chase Briscoe stealing the win, or Tyler Reddick, who ended up all the way down in 7th, he had a shot. I mean, but Bubba was frustrated with his own teammate that he wasn't helping him more on the restarts as he was starting from the front row. And to your point as well, Brandon, I imagine there's a little bit, Bubba can take a little bit of solace in the fact that he did just win the Brickyard 400. So there is a silver lining there. It's not like if he had,
things are going good.
Yeah. If he were still on the 100 plus race winless streak that he was facing,
gloves would be off, possibly.
I mean, it was this race 3 years ago. That was his last win before the Brickyard. And now, if he had it, his team owner of all people take away a win and didn't have the Brickyard 400 to fall back on, can you imagine how much more frustrating that would have been?
It'd be like, I trusted you, like you of all people. Like that's the drama of it all.
But again, just to sit here and look at these results and see that it was not a Toyota driver winning the race. I cannot think off the top of my head, certainly in my lifetime. I mean, you can go back even further. I know Mark Martin pulled down into the pits at Bristol during an Xfinity race all those years ago and thought the race was over. I mean, that was pretty bad. But when you have five drivers, Brandon, there were 5 drivers that had a legitimate shot at this win that were all up there. And credit to Kansas Speedway for putting on a great show once again. And credit to these drivers for not having team orders and racing it out. But at the same time, I don't want to blame any one person in particular. I appreciate that they were all going for it. But, and I think, again, we'll talk about this a little bit later as well. It's a product of this playoff system where winning is the only thing that matters. And it gets in these drivers' heads so much to the point where they all took each other out of the victory lane and put a Chevrolet driver in it. Where in the world did Chase Elliott come from to win this race, given how Toyota lined up on that last restart? It's just unbelievable.
It's just one of those bad fruits of that root problem that we talk about on a weekly basis. Even Tyler Reddick was in the mix here, a driver that's not really been having an off year here, all things considered, compared to how he's been the last few years with 2311. Yeah, that's a lot of Toyotas there that were in contention. You know, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, that we also mentioned before. Congratulations to Brad Keselowski for sneaking in the top 10. Shane Van Gisbergen as well. And Hendrick teammate William Byron there in 9th. Should be quite interesting when Adam, you're heading to Talladega in a few weeks. Good to hear, man. I hope you enjoy that. Yeah, it should be interesting all the way through to Phoenix, no doubt about it.
Yeah, well, and again, you want to talk about team orders. I mean, when you go to Daytona and Talladega, and I guess Atlanta now to an extent as well, that it's kind of inevitable.
That's where it's heavy.
Some of that, of course, and that's just the nature of super speedway racing. But we said it for years. Toyota's already at a disadvantage just because they have the lowest car count. Legacy.
They're working on that though, aren't they?
They're working on it.
Slowly but surely.
Helps them out a little bit now. And again, and honestly, hey, Riley Herbst was 22nd. He was on the lead lap. I think sometimes we forget 2311 is a 3-car team. That's not
It's easy to forget.
That's obviously not great. It's not completely terrible. I mean, Riley finished on the lead lap. He had a fine afternoon. Obviously, all the attention is going to be on his two teammates that are in the playoffs here, and that team's going through a lot off the track right now. But
it's an understatement.
Yeah. So what are they up to now? They're up to, I guess, 9 full-time cars because Gibbs got grandfathered in. They have their 4, and then you got 3 for 2311 and 2 full-time for Legacy. So
yeah, that gets it.
It's better than the 5 or 6 that they were at for a couple of years there at the turn of the decade. But they don't have the strength and numbers that Chevy and Ford have. And after what happened on this particular race weekend, heading to Talladega, I imagine, like I said, no love lost between some of these drivers here based on how they raced one another on the last lap or last handful of laps at Kansas Speedway in the Cup race. So again, the wrap-up team did a good job recapping all that for you all yesterday. But when certain things happen, it was not quite insane enough to the point where I said I got to drop everything, drop all my Sunday night plans, and crash the wrap-up set. But I did want to address it here on a lighter week for us on the Encore show, because how could you not? Just again, an unbelievable outcome for Toyota that none of those 5 drivers were lifting the trophy at the end of yesterday's race. Yeah,
perhaps another classic race to add to 2025. And you look at the cut. We'll talk about the playoffs later, of course, but looking at the cutoff here as we head to the Roval, Bubba Wallace there, 26 points behind the line with Tyler Reddick. There's 2 Toyotas behind the line. Bubba Wallace with the potential win. Denny Hamlin could have locked himself in, now just 48. I mean, he's doing pretty well, 48 above the cut line, but I think anything can slash those chances when you get to the Roval. It just takes one tire barrier, one wrong thing on pit road. The possibilities are pretty endless.
I think Denny is pretty safe. I will say, when we had this conversation last week with the deal with Joe Gibbs, if he's going to get through the next round, in all likelihood, it's not guaranteed, but in all likelihood, he'll get through the next round. But you could say this would have been 5 more playoff points. New Hampshire last week. I mean, if it comes down to 5 or 10 points or less than that to not get into the championship 4, I mean, if he doesn't win this championship, or at least get to the championship 4, we might look back at these 2 races and say, maybe this was when the turning point happened that once again cost Denny Hamlin a championship. How many times have we seen that story play out in this sport here? But
man, I'll say it again, as biasedly unbiased as I can put it, I would love nothing more than to see Denny finally get one. As I'm sure many of you would also say the same thing, whether you're a fan of him or not. I do think he is one of the most likable villains in all of sports. He's definitely a villain, but in a different way than I think some other sports villains end up being received from the fan base. But not to say that he doesn't have haters. We all know, but he certainly does. But and for Bubba, I mean, I hate to say it, I think this was it for him in his playoff chances. Now maybe he'll surprise me. He's gotten better on road courses over the last several years. We know that. If this were 5 or 6 years ago, I'd say absolutely no chance being 26 points back. And being that far back, unless he wins both stages and gains 20 from there, he's probably in a position where he's going to have to win or have a lot of chaos happen ahead of him. Yeah. But this would have made life a lot easier. And now Bubba Wallace has to be good at a road course to win the championship. Not counting a full season tally. Now you have to be the best at a road course, at a Roval. Yeah.
We'll have more on the playoff format later on. Obviously,
just teasing.
A lot of discussion on that here in the last handful of days, with some rumors coming out of Adam Stern, Sports Business Journal, and their reporting. But in the meantime, let's talk about the first series that we regularly cover on this channel, NASCAR Xfinity Series, or on this. We cover everything on this channel, right? The grid ranking, everything on this show. I mean, the Encore show, NASCAR Xfinity Series racing at Kansas Speedway. Connor Zilisch, once again, he is not completely unbeatable. It was Brenden Jones, a name that might be surprising on any other race weekend, but Brenden, I got to tell you, this was his 3rd victory in his career at this track. When you see these results, when you see the performance that Brenden Jones put on display on Saturday, is it just a matter of Brenden Jones? He's just that good at Kansas, or do you think he is a legitimate dark horse and threat to steal the title? Remember, he arguably should have been in a championship 4 in 2022 before Ty Gibbs cleaned him out at Martinsville. And he did win at Phoenix in 2020 and finished third there in the spring.
I'd be inclined to say that he's just a fluke when it comes to Kansas. And my wife and I were there on site for his last win at Darlington earlier back in the spring. But you bring up some really lucrative points there about 2020 with Phoenix. I mean, the car isn't too much different at all. I dare say it's not different at all. And finished third there in the spring. You got to make it to the championship round. That's all we ask. That's all you got to ask for Brenden Jones, and then set him off and see what he can do there at Avondale. But yeah, all he has to do is make Phoenix. You make a good point for him to be maybe a dark horse. I'm still not ready to put him in the dark horse category, but he has to get by this next round, and so. I don't see the best thing he could do here was get the win. So now maybe he's got some momentum to work with. But before now, he was not on my radar at all. But showing that he can win Kansas again and lock himself in, it puts him in a lot better position for sure. So possibly on the edge of being a dark horse for me.
Yeah, well, like I said, anything can happen in this system, and I think it's not that I'm sitting here telling you Brenden Jones is a true threat or he's the number one driver. I still think Justin Allgaier would be the top competition to Connor Zilic here, but if he can get to the championship 4, I like Brenden Jones's chances at Phoenix over most other track. Probably Kansas would be the only one. I would say if the championship race were at Kansas, then if Brenden Jones got to the championship 4, I would say you've got to look at him as one of the actual favorites. But
how's he going to do at Vegas, Talladega, or Martinsville? That's the real nail biter for him. I don't see those being. Well, Las Vegas, he didn't do anything at Las Vegas before.
Martinsville is the one that comes to mind for me just because of what happened there in 22. I don't know. I can pull his results here up here rather just to see. Obviously, it was a couple of down years for him at Junior Motorsports. He's had most of his success at Joe Gibbs Racing, and now that's where he's been returned to this year. And it's I think gone much better for him. Obviously, a pair of 14th place finishes at the standings. I'm trying to see what his best finish here at Vegas was. I think he's had some decent runs there, but he's got 3 wins at Kansas, a couple of wins at Darlington, and he did win at Martinsville in the spring of 2022, and then won the pole in the fall, was on his way to victory lane there in the fall, and then we all know what happened after that. So again, I think he's got a very clear path where he could, and Talladega's in the round of 8 as well. I mean, anything can happen there. He's got a clear path to get to the championship 4, and if he can get there, then like I said, Connor Zilic, I think far and away has been the most deserving driver of his championship with the run that he's been on recently. But there are no guarantees in this system, and if Brenden Jones can get to that point, I wouldn't put it past him to potentially pull a Daniel Hemrick and steal one with a walk-off win at Phoenix.
Yeah, I feel like it's Zilic and Allgaier fighting for the championship, and maybe Brenden Jones, if he's there in Phoenix fighting for a championship, he'd be there to pick up the pieces. Maybe not the main contender like we said, but you really never know. Yeah,
and Sam Mayer's in great shape. Obviously, Jones is locked into the next round. I think Zilic and Allgaier have clinched it on points. Obviously, Zilic is so far ahead, but just looking at some of these other names here, I mean, I guess for Taylor Gray and Sheldon Creed, I mean, they're still looking for their first wins, period. But then again, Daniel Hemrick was as well, as is Carson Kvapil now that I think about it. Jesse Love and Austin Hill. I mean, Hill's obviously at a disadvantage because of not having playoff points. Don't really feel like I've seen the speed from RCR that makes me think that they're top contenders right now. So yeah, I mean, I think again, if you have a championship 4 of the top 4 right now, as much as I think Zilic deserves this title, and as much as I think Justin Allgaier would be the next driver in line, I could certainly see any of those 4 walking away with the trophy after Phoenix. And as we saw last year, Riley Herbst won the race. Justin Allgaier finished second. So it is a little bit more common. Obviously, we've only ever seen it once in Cup, but it's not unprecedented for you to not have to win the race at Phoenix to be the one lifting the championship trophy at the end there. So we'll see what it comes down to. Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of championships and championship formats here, let's get these results off the screen and let's talk about the news that broke this week here. We've heard a lot about this playoff committee over the course of this season, and reportedly at the start of the year, there was only one person on that committee. Again, this is all anonymous. We don't know who it was exactly, but one person was arguing in favor of scrapping playoffs altogether and going back to full season points. And I think when you look at the controversies of Martinsville last year and some of the other shenanigans that we've seen over the years, some really dominant seasons that don't go rewarded, I think a lot of people are in agreement that what we are doing right now is far from perfect, and we need to make some tweaks to the system at the very least. We don't like that we just decided based off of one race at the end, or you have to get to one race and then, all hell can break loose and who knows what happens there at Phoenix. And if Phoenix isn't a great track for you, then, that's where the finale has been for the last several years. Although that's going to change next year. So we'll see if the format changes along with it. But I think we're all in agreement that we need some sort of a refresher or change at this point. But man, God bless Mark Martin out on the front lines, leading that charge, leading that fight on social media. I think the full season 36 race format has gained a lot of steam over the last several weeks. I got to tell you, just seeing the reaction when this, it's not even news. We don't even know if it's going to happen yet. And I am not going to count my chickens before they hatch here. Obviously, if NASCAR does go back to a 36 race full season format for deciding their champions, you'll see the greatest victory lap I've ever taken on this show.
I've heard tales of that great day when you would take the victory lap of the century.
Confirmed. Yeah. Yes. This would be even greater than when they outlawed the wall ride, which I called that happening too. But
you would have the floor here for an extra hour. We would just sit. I would make some popcorn. Just behold.
Oh yeah. It would be beautiful. In my opinion, it would be beautiful.
No, I agree. I'd be here to see it.
But man, what stood out to me was, and I'm gonna find the tweet here just because I want to make sure I don't misquote him. I want to make sure I say exactly what he said.
Sure.
So that I don't, just want to make sure that. Okay, here we go. This is from Michael Waltrip, who I'm a fan of, who I like and respect, who I think sometimes isn't serious enough for the roles that he plays on television and in media. But I think Mikey's a good guy. I certainly don't agree with him on everything, though, and this is another example of that. Mikey tweets on September 25th, "Every sport has a playoff. Seems like a good idea at NASCAR." And the response to this tweet, I think, was very telling. So I quoted it. I said, "Mikey offered very little detail. He said nothing nearly as controversial as Mamba's 'the point isn't to crown the best driver' tweet. He simply called the playoffs a good idea, nothing more. Not only did he still get ratioed, he even got a community note, and that community note
legit, yeah.
The first statement is incorrect. Most motorsports sanctioning bodies such as F1, IndyCar, and IMSA utilize a full season points format with no playoff," and then linking to their websites and rules and regulations there. And
by the way, it would help if you go rate that context is helpful.
Yeah, there you go.
Go do it right now. Yeah.
And my conclusion to that tweet was the tide is turning. And the reason I say that is because I feel like for the first time, and you see, and I mean, I know we just said on this show a couple of weeks ago, right? Get off of social media. Social media is not a fair, accurate representation of real life. But there are a lot of race fans on motorsports Twitter, on NASCAR Twitter. It is a genuine sample size, I think, of how the fan base is feeling. There are people of all walks of life that are on social media, and when you have this many people coming out and saying these things, as opposed to the polls that Jeff Gluck used to put out, and maybe it used to be that half the fan base was in favor of this format, and a third of it wanted to go back to the 10 race chase that we used in the 2000s and early 2010s, and only 20% wanted a full season format. Well, now I think those numbers have kind of been inverted a little bit. Maybe it's even stronger now that we've seen such dominant seasons from, I mean, and you saw the graphic on the ARCA broadcast, and we'll get into ARCA here a little bit later, but it was very ironic to me. You saw Connor Zilisch, Corey Heim, and Brenden Queen all side by side, and for two of those drivers, it says leads the playoff standings, and for Brenden Queen, it says, something along the lines of, all he has to do is take the green flag at Toledo, and he's going to win the championship, or he's all but clinched the championship. I don't remember off the top of my head verbatim what that graphic said, but you could tell that those two guys, as dominant as they've been, have no guarantees. Whereas Brenden Queen, I mean, he basically needs to not show up to Toledo and have LeVar Scott win the race and lead the most laps, and then maybe the mathematics would work out in his favor. But man, it's very telling to me that this is where we're at now with our fan base. And I just want to say again, I appreciate everybody that responded to. I mean, I had a couple of tweets that definitely got more traction than I usually get on the website, and there were a lot of people that attempted to engage in conversation with me in good faith, and I appreciate that. I'm not expecting to change their minds. They sure as hell are not going to change my mind. This is a hill that I've been dying on for years. That's not the point. The point is to maybe open our minds to a perspective that we haven't considered before, or to look at the situation and say, I can at least understand where you're coming from. And, there were a lot of people that genuinely made that effort, but at the same time, I was reminded that sometimes, you see certain people respond a certain way, and it just, man, I feel like sometimes we have a reading comprehension issue in this country here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There was one person in particular. His name was Brian. I'm not going to say his last name. If you really want to go dig through my timeline and scroll back far enough, you can. I mean, the tweets are out there. He put himself out there. I'm not going to, censor his name completely or anything, because he's got a public Twitter account. This is a public forum. I feel like it's fair game. Somebody else responded to Gluck's tweet. This guy named Fitz says, won't watch a single race after August once the points are out of reach. Adjust the playoffs, don't eliminate. And so I sit back and say, okay, hold on. You're talking about after August. That would mean, I think the opening race of the playoffs was August 31st, right? So we'll give you the very end of August. We'll give you as much time as possible. If this is my tweet, if someone clinches the championship with 9 of the 36 races left in the season, a full quarter of the season, if they have mathematically clinched the championship at that point, then they are the most deserving champion in the entire history of the sport, and there is no reason they shouldn't be recognized as such.
Yeah.
So then Brian responds to that tweet and says, in 11 of the last 15 seasons of the full season format, the eventual champion was leading at Labor Day and did not relinquish the lead. It doesn't have to be officially decided to be practically decided. And I said, you know what? All right. That seems to me like that's a fair point. It seemed like a genuine effort was going to be made here. So I chose to go ahead and start a conversation and respond to that. And so I quote tweet him and say, how often were people questioning the validity? I want to say that again, because it's going to come back up again. How often were people questioning the validity of those 11 championships compared to the 11 we've crowned in the elimination playoff era? I'll take championship integrity for the most deserving driver over manufactured uncertainty heading into the last race. Brian responds to my tweet and says, all this talk of legitimacy and integrity are so much BS. Before stages, we would have several debris cautions that would randomly fly with 10 to go to make races more exciting at the end. Your faux concern for legitimacy is so transparent.
Okay.
So then Clable comes in, and Clable ended up making several contributions to this conversation as well. Clable comes in and says, what the hell do stage cautions replacing debris yellows have to do with the legitimacy of a season-long championship format in this argument? Brian's response is, calling this format illegitimate, in quotes, implies intentional tampering by NASCAR. There's nothing illegitimate about this format other than the broken brains of people who think that the only way to do something is the way Petty and Senior did it. So by this point, maybe I should have walked away, Brenden. I know you say you try to shield me from some of these conversations here, but sometimes I can't help myself. And I said, we've already started the conversation. We've gone this far.
It's my fault, really. I wasn't here to stop him. So I blame myself, folks. I blame myself.
Well, I said, you know what? You've done it. You've gone and you've attacked the person, not the argument. I'm going to call you out for it. I never called the format illegitimate. Today's champions are absolutely legitimate because the system is the same for everyone. I simply said why I don't think it's best for the sport. You, in turn, called my brain broken. I don't think you have the moral high ground here. And again, I will just remind people, this is the point of my original tweet. I asked the question, how many people, not me, how many other people have questioned the validity of Joey Logano's championship? I don't think you have to scroll very far down on NASCAR Twitter after the Phoenix race last year to find plenty of people that were doing that. And by the way, I wasn't one of them. I've said multiple times, listen, the man has made the championship for every even year, every other year. He's got 3 championships to his name. He clearly has figured out how to maximize this system to the best of his ability to result in 3 NASCAR Cup Series championships. More power to him. I don't like the system, but I can respect the play. Don't hate the player, hate the game, right? That's the situation that we're dealing with here. I'm not going to go so far as to say illegitimate. So I follow up my tweet by saying I'm more than happy to engage in conversation with people who like and defend the system, but if you're going to go personal and insult the intelligence of folks on my side of the argument, there's no point in arguing with you anymore. Brian responds to that and says, I've been having this conversation for years. At this point, it feels like this. And it's a gif of somebody talking to a brick wall, which is really, I mean, again, you can't write this stuff sometimes, right? Because my response to that is, Brian, I tried to engage in genuine back and forth. You came back at me by putting a word in my mouth that I didn't use. You insulted my intelligence. And now you're the one saying talking to me is like talking to a brick wall. Thanks for the laugh this morning. I mean that sincerely. And it continues to go back and forth from there. I'm trying to go here in chronological order because he sent me multiple replies. I'm not going to go through the entire thing here, but he says I'm living up to the billing, talking about how I'm one of those guys on Twitter that doesn't have a discussion, even though that's all I've been trying to do all day at this point. And so I come back and I say again, I responded to your tweet directly by asking a follow-up question. You made no further effort to engage. All you did was twist my words and say I had a broken brain. The fact that you are now accusing me of the name and shame method is frankly pathetic. And he responds to this tweet and he says, I used a synonym. I would assume a journalist would know what those are. People who use coded language to give themselves the plausible deniability hate it when they come across someone who calls them out on it. Questioning the validity is coded language for illegitimate. So then I respond, you've put words in my mouth that I didn't use again, Brian. Even if I grant to you that they mean the exact same thing, they don't, by the way. I asked how many other people were questioning those champions. I never said I was doing the same. And I'll clarify this for everybody as well, I don't consider myself a journalist. I'm at the track once a year at Sonoma with Brock Beard. I've gone out with Joe Samaniego a few times to Portland. Those guys are journalists, the guys that do that are part of a traveling circus every single week, that are on the grounds asking the questions, breaking news, breaking stories. I'm a pundit. I'm an analyst. That's what we do on this show. We react to things from afar. We get out to the track maybe a couple of times a year, but I don't feel comfortable calling myself a journalist in that sense. So again, just to sum it all up and put a bow on this, it never ceases to amaze me sometimes that people try to take the moral high ground. They say that as they are continuing to put words in my mouth and accuse me of doing things that I have absolutely no track record of doing, and then turn around and say that I'm the one that's making this a conversation that's like talking to a brick wall. Again, I just think that we have to take a step back sometimes and remember that social media isn't real life, because some of the things that I see here on this site just never cease to amaze me. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we went through the entire rabbit trail there, and thank you for that. And I'm sorry I wasn't here to police you, but I'm glad you made it through. And yeah, I mean some great points brought up, and good to see that. You mentioned it. NASCAR Twitter is a good sample size of the people's opinion. You've got the committee that decides these things from Charlotte Concord, but you've got the people's voice that's been NASCAR Twitter for, going on 15 years or more, I guess. Ever since Brad Keselowski first tweeted from his car in 2012 after the Juan Pablo Montoya fire, we've had several NASCAR Twitter explosions, since then, where the dumpster fire comes back, but also some great conversation that has stayed alive over the years, and this is a great example of that. The people and God bless Mark Martin for that. If this comes back, if the full points format comes back, it'll be a major part of Mark Martin's legacy as a Hall of Famer. Will be one of the loudest voices and one of the strongest RV enthusiasts that brought the full season points format back. Oh yeah, and also he was a race car driver.
Yeah, and well, again, I'll just bring up a couple of things. First of all, Mark liked one of my tweets. Somebody brought up something about forget what all these seasons had in common here. It was about Jeff Gordon 2007, Martin Truex Jr. 2017, Kevin Harvick 2020, and he said. It was time card, actually. There you go. Since 2004, title would have only been clinched 2 races early 3 times. It was those 3 years. So people need to stop with the notion that, again, this was in response to my tweet about responding to the person that said they won't watch after August, right? As if the championship's going to be decided that early in a full season format anyway. And of those 3 examples, those 3 seasons that were so dominant, Gordon in 07, Truex in 17, Harvick in 20, those are used as examples. Truex still won it anyway, and thank goodness he did. But to this day, so many people think Gordon and Harvick were robbed of championships they should have won. That was a tweet that Mark liked. So I usually don't go into fanboy mode and react to that. I mean, people like tweets on Twitter all the time, but I appreciate
Hall of Famers don't like your tweet all the time.
That's fair.
So.
Yeah, I appreciate that Mark is out there acknowledging that I'm fighting the good fight alongside him. And I'll leave it at that. But again, Gluck brought this point up a few weeks ago as well. Mark never won a championship under a full season format. And the last chance he had at the end of his career in 2009 was under a chase format. And although he had several wins that year, he barely snuck into the 12-driver chase. He would not have been in championship contention if it weren't for that format in 2009 that allowed him to finish second in points and come very close to dethroning the then 3-time defending champion Jimmy Johnson.
That's why Mark is the perfect patriot for this cause, because you can always point the finger. Oh, you won it because that's how you got your championship. No,
that's not Mark at all. No, and I think that only strengthens the integrity behind Mark's arguments here in the crusade that he's leading in favor of a full season format. So I continue to hold out hope. I believe the hope is only slightly less slim than it was this time last week, because again, just because people are talking about it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I still think we're going to get some sort of hybrid or compromise, but keep talking about it, keep making noise, and who knows, maybe they'll look at the noise that's being made once this rumors come out and say, maybe we should give the fans what they want here, if enough fans want this.
Sponsors have to want it too. The money has to want it too. If money is going to walk away if you don't do it, that will be what turns the tide.
That's true. Yeah, and I know that it came out in the Gluck piece as well. I think that there was a track executive that said it's easier to sell tickets if we say, hey, we've got a playoff race. I don't know if TV ratings are very indicative of that. I mean, we saw New Hampshire ratings were not very good, but who knows?
Also, I don't remember my source, but I do know that NBC was fine with whatever NASCAR decided to roll with. I do know that much. I forgot my source on that.
Leave it up to
that might have been an Adam Stern thing with Sports Business Journal. I'm not sure.
Yeah, TV networks are gonna step out of that, and I think that's good. And I'd say that even if the roles were reversed, and we'd seen NBC come in and say it's like, well, whatever, right? Like, I mean, it's I don't think TV should be playing.
Oh, fine.
I think TV had some influence in trying to leave a charge for stage racing or playing commercial breaks or whatever, which again makes sense from a business perspective from that side of things. But I don't love when TV gets in the business of making or breaking rules in the sport here. So I think that's a good development too to hear. But they're going to step aside and let NASCAR decide what they want to do. Totally in support of that. Let's go back to the Xfinity results here real quick before we move on. I see we have a couple of questions that came in, and thank you guys for your patience. Obviously wanted to get through that open segment here, but just follow up on Xfinity here real quick. This is from Adam. Do you think we'll see Corey Heim in the Xfinity Series next year? In my opinion, deserves a seat after his year in the Truck Series this year. I certainly hope so. I hope we at least see him on a part-time basis. I don't know what rides would be open for him. I know there's constant speculation over where his relationship is at with Toyota at this point or with Joe Gibbs Racing, but I think he is showing that he is certainly, I think he's deserving of a ride on Sundays already at this point. You've seen it when he's got the 2311 car, but Saturdays at the very least, I would certainly like to see him at least one step, if not two steps above the Truck Series next year.
I disagree, Adam. I don't think he's going there. I think he's going to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series.
Well, it's still the Xfinity Series for a couple of months, and
he's talking about next year.
Well, we know
we're sending Corey to the Nope Opera.
We know what you mean, Adam. We appreciate that.
I'm messing with you.
Yes. And as well, Adam says, nice to see Brenden. I think he meant Butterbean. Queen get a
Butterball. That's even better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And thank you, Adam, for bringing that up. Driving that colleague car. Again, I think indicative of his talent, and he's going to be well-deserved, well-recognized with a deserved ARCA championship next week at Toledo as well. So just like Connor Zilic and several others before him, I think he's proving that he's ready to graduate and move on from the next step. And I think some heavy rumors that of the 4 or 5 colleague trucks that are coming in next year, maybe this was the audition for that at colleague, and I think he passed with flying colors, I would say.
Yeah.
And one more question from Joe. If Brandon Jones won the championship, would it mean more compared to had he won a prior season, I think of 2022? And since then, yeah, I mean, I think, again, I saw, I think this was from, forget who it was from. Somebody said, Brandon Jones is capable of putting together 1 or 2 of these weekends per year, but that's the problem. It's only once or twice a season here. But again, the way this format is, if you can time those 1 or 2 performances like this per year to be in September and October and November,
he just needs a couple more.
You just never know. Yeah, I mean, but
strategically
again,
placed, like you said, strategically placed,
and he has been. I don't know what the difference was. Because again, it's not like, well, he snuck into the playoffs, but he didn't win a race. I mean, he didn't even make the playoffs. He was struggling to so much as get top 10s in junior motorsports equipment that was competing for and winning championships with Justin Allgaier last year. So to not even make the postseason, I think was a pretty big disappointment. But then to come back to Gibbs and now lock himself in the round of 8 and get a couple more wins under his belt. He's had a very interesting career. I don't know off the top of my head what the record is for number of starts in the Xfinity Series before making a Cup Series start, but I imagine Brandon Jones has to be getting up there at this point in his career. I don't know if there's necessarily a path for him to move up to Cup. I don't know if he's ever going to move up to Cup at this point. I think he's solidified himself as an Xfinity lifer, but it would be interesting to see if he can make some noise here over the next couple of weeks. I think it would mean quite a lot if he were to steal a championship away from junior motorsports this year.
If he's able to piece it together, it'd be very Ben Rhodes-esque in Phoenix. That would be something. But I mean, it would be a job well done too, because that means he has to make 2 more excellent performances at some point in the remainder of the season.
Yeah. Well, and again, it would be, the irony of that is also, taking a championship away, kind of like a revenge tour, so to speak, from a team that he drove for the last 2 years.
Yeah, that didn't work out, did it?
Yeah, been so dominant this year, broken their own record for most wins in a season, got their 100th victory. I mean, they ran the Daytona 500 this year, for crying out loud. I mean, junior motorsports just on top of the world.
Yeah.
With Connor Zilic and riding the high of Allgaier's championship last year. I mean, Brandon Jones could come in and spoil the party, and what a story that would be. All right, we move on now to let's close out the Kansas Speedway chapter of this show. And again, not too many notes coming out of this one here. Brenden Queen, he had to survive a couple of overtimes, and I still want to say the ARCA overtime rules are somehow still more insane, crazy, asinine, whatever other synonym you want to throw out there than NASCAR's top 3 series are, because they took the white flag, they had to re-rack them, they had to re-rack them again, but through it all, Brenden Queen was able to hold off Gio Ruggiero and a couple of Venturini cars. Taylor Reimer up there as well, great top 5 for her in her intermediate debut in the ARCA Menards Series. Some competition for Brenden on those final restarts, but he was able to hold on nonetheless and take yet another victory. And like I said, especially after LeVar Scott's 25th place finish, unfortunate deal for him, hitting the wall and being taken out of contention there, finishing in the bottom 5. But that, again, pretty much all but sealed the championship for Queen if it hadn't been already. The only reason that it's not official is because of the way ARCA's point system is structured. Drivers get 50-point bonuses for each 5 races that they complete in succession. So that's 200 bonus points throughout the season in a 20-race season. Obviously, we're coming up on another set of 5 years. We end the season, and that means that all the full-time drivers will get another 50 points as soon as they take the green flag at Toledo. So it had to be a 99-point gap, technically speaking, for the championship to be clinched going into the final race. But like I said, that will go down to 49 after Brenden Queen just takes the green flag at Toledo Speedway and confirms his full-time status. So the championship not really in question at this point, and we can give our congratulations to Butterbean on a championship that was well-earned, well-deserved, and he doesn't have to worry about somebody stealing the win in the final race of the year just because they made the championship 4 and stealing the championship with it. He's a thoroughly deserving champion, and again, I think it's looking increasingly likely that we'll see him in a Kaulig truck in 2026, but we'll wait for those plans to be confirmed, and when they are, of course, we'll bring those to you here on the Encore show. But Brenden, I don't know if you have any final thoughts on the weekend that Butterbean had here, but as Adam pointed out in the chat, good to see him get a top 10 in Xfinity as well.
Yeah, fantastic run there for Butterbean, and really has just surprised me every single weekend that they've been in action this year, just from Daytona to now. Did not see him being the dominating piece for the year, but here he is, and like we said earlier, he's getting ready for surely a Dodge truck, which is also very cool to say for 2026. It's got to be calling his name.
Yeah, I expected him to be competitive on the short tracks, but to start the season out with a win at Daytona and to get 2 wins at Kansas and Michigan and Dover, Iowa, DuQuoin, and Salem, that is quite a resume to be building for yourself. A lot of variety in those different track types. And for Butterbean to say he's won all of them, I think speaks very highly of the talent that he has. And again, we'll wait and see where he's showcasing that talent on a regular basis next year. And finally tonight, one ARCA West race to recap as well. They were at Madera Speedway. And a similar story, not quite as much of a landslide championship lead right now. And Trevor Huddleston only opening it up by a little bit because his championship rival, Kyle Keller, finished in second. But he does pad that points lead here a little bit, I believe up to 18 points, if I recall correctly, with 2 races to go. So not a formality just yet. But if you had to point to a driver that may have one hand on the championship trophy, Trevor Huddleston has had a phenomenal season. Only 1 finish outside the top 5. It was the combo race with Big ARCA at Phoenix, where the West drivers struggled to keep pace. The only West regular in the top 10 that's fighting for the championship was Robbie Keneally in 9th place. So a little bit of an anomaly there. And there will be a little bit of a wild card when we finish the season at Phoenix, because although that is not a combination race, it does usually draw some of the national teams out for one final race to close out the calendar year. So we expect a bigger car count that race, and that does mean there are more points that could potentially be lost for Trevor Huddleston or Kyle Keller as well in this championship fight. So we'll keep our eye on that as the season closes out here. But would be a good story for Trevor and the entire High Point Racing team if he can close out this deal, and we'll continue to follow his progress here over these last 2 races as we close out the season for ARCA West as well. All right, do we have one more comment here? Joe Samaniego, yes, thank you for bringing up Eric Johnson Jr., top 3 finish for the local Pacific Northwest driver. He's now 5th in the point standings, looking to kind of recap from a bit of a summer slump here. Had a couple of top 5s over the last 2 races. So good to see him continuing to fight, and maybe he could finish as high as, I'd say, probably 3rd, still within reach in the points this year. So the defending Rookie of the Year, or reigning Rookie of the Year, I should say. You don't defend the Rookie of the Year award, obviously, because you're only a rookie once, but good to see Eric continuing to steadily improve in his sophomore season in the West Series as well. All right, well, that's going to do it for us here for our race recaps and our hot topics, and that means it's time for the one shining moment. Brenden, I'll let you go first. What was the one thing that stood out to you this weekend?
I mean, it was hard not to see it. Zane Smith and his wall ride, and glad he's okay, but for that, he gets the one shining moment. Way to go, man. And sorry you had to take that trip around the safer barrier, but glad everything turned out okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite a sight to see here, and I don't know, actually, just looking ahead to your final thoughts, Brenden. I don't know, maybe this is going to come up again. I don't know what you're necessarily referencing there, but I guess we'll know in just a few minutes here. But in terms of my one shining moment, I guess I'll just stay on the Butterbean Queen trend for one final time here, because it really was. I want to thank Adam for bringing this up in the chat as well, because I don't think that this should go unnoticed. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Brandon Jones and Connor Zildjian season that he's having. But Brenden Queen did all but clinch a championship this weekend of his own, and came into the Xfinity Series and put on a heck of a fight there as well. So, again, very excited to see what he's going to do next year. We think we have an idea of what that's going to be, but again, we'll wait for official confirmation on that as well. But in the meantime, certainly worthy of a one shining moment this weekend. That's going to do it for our show tonight. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Encore Show. And like I said, at the start of the episode, if you liked what you saw this evening, you want to consider investing in the Grid Network, helping us continue to build our motorsports media outlet. You can join Colin, Michelle, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew through the description box below. There's a link to our Patreon page, and then join them in helping us continue to expand our coverage throughout the rest of this year and into next year. If you'd rather make a one-time contribution to us instead, you can visit the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box below, or if you're watching us live on YouTube, we now have the super chats and super thanks features enabled as well. And again, the best thing you can do to continue to help support us regardless is follow us on all of our social media platforms, X/Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky, whatever microblogging platform you're using these days. We're on all 3 of them, as well as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn. Most importantly, subscribe to us right here on the YouTube channel, and visit our website at gridnetworktv.com. Matthew Bro's article up recapping the thrilling finish of the Cup Series race this weekend, so make sure you go check that out in just a few minutes once our stream is over. Now, looking ahead to our upcoming schedule, Kobe Lambeth will be back, as always, on Wednesday night with Joshua Birch and Matt White. They'll certainly have no shortage of things to talk about as well, so you can stay tuned for that, as well as our continued Grid Live coverage, our new pre-race show format continuing here. Only a few more weeks left in the NASCAR season, but stay tuned for our upcoming schedule on that. Grid Live to follow this weekend, as always, and then we will see you back here after a 167-hour break for another episode of the Encore Show next Monday night. Brenden, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Just a couple of things. I leave you with this that I've reposted just while we were on this show. You may have seen it floating around. On today's glitch in the NASCAR Matrix. I'm sure you got it now.
That was when that was coming, yes.
Yeah. September 28, 2003, Talladega, they had to take Elliott Sadler's car back to R&D Center and looked at it for who knows how long. The 38 Ford flipped. The Napa-sponsored driver won. Mikey Waltrip coming out the roof flap as he did. September 28, 2025, the 38 Ford flips. The Napa-sponsored driver wins. Welcome to the Matrix. Also, want to shout out on X at Christian Espinoza. He's about to have the best view of next weekend's action at the Charlotte Roval, because he's got that condo shot, and I'm sure he's going to get some sort of great footage here for us from the weekend as well. So yeah, shout out to Christian Espinoza. He's always been a part of that NASCAR community we've been talking about here on X for a number of years.
Yeah. All right. I just want to say from everybody here at the Grid Network, thoughts and prayers to Lewis Hamilton. I know Roscoe, his dog, was fighting an illness and unfortunately didn't make it, passed away yesterday. So I haven't had a pet in a very long time, but Brandon, I'm sure you can speak to that a little bit better than I can. I know pets are
tough.
Pets are definitely family, and it's always hard going through that kind of loss. So again, on behalf of everybody here on this team, want to send our best to the Hamilton family and Lewis in particular, because I know that Roscoe was very special to him, and it's going to be strange not seeing him walking around in the paddock anymore on F1 Grand Prix weekends. But I just want to send our best over to him during this difficult time. And one more note from Kobe. Thank you for throwing this out there, Kobe. Tanner Smith will have a piece on the Grid Network website coming up tomorrow, reflecting on Matt Kenseth's 2002 season. So make sure you go, again, check out the website, Matthew Bro's piece there as well, like I mentioned, and check out our coverage over there at gridnetworktv.com as well. All right, for Brandon Crossland, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you next week right here on the Encore Show on the Grid Network. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.